who joined in the call today. Thank you very much for taking out your time on a Sunday evening and joined us. We are glad to host this workshop, and as always, glad to see this overwhelming response. So we have more than 50 plus people who are joining in the call today. Thanks each one of you shown interest and trust towards us and joining the call. So I'm sure most of you already attended our previous webinar, which we named as soft skills for the EHS professionals. So that was on a very basic level, wherein we talk about what are the basic understanding a safety professional must have with respect to the communication and when you are talking and when you are to influence and those kind of stuff. So looking into the overwhelming response we got there, we have decided to come up with this facilitation skills training for the EHS professional, and it is amazing to see the response to this program as well. So now moving into the next slide, we are going to talk about I'll Amar Bindra to take this forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dipal. Thank you so much. Namaskar and namaste. That is the global way of greeting everybody today, keeping social distancing in mind. For the next about 90 minutes or so, we're trying to build in time for discussion also. We are trying to share a journey which you have to figure out for yourself as the industry opens again. Life becomes so-called normal, which will not be normal like it was earlier, because the new abnormal is normal. Let me share a small story before I really get on to what I have to say. Many of you are subscriber to the newspaper Times of India in India, and on the editorial page, there is an article which comes very often called The Speaking Tree. Speaking Tree has made a huge impact on me for the last couple of weeks. And let me quote from Speaking Tree yesterday. Many of you might have read it. The story is the start of an article written by none other than the Sadguru Jaggi Vasudev. And it tells the story of a centipede. Now, centipede, friends, is like a caterpillar which has 100 legs. Now, centipede develop gout. Gout in simple language is knee pain, severe knee pain or joint pain. Now, imagine a small caterpillar having severe pain in the joint in its 100 legs. So, in all that agony, the centipede walked up to the wise owl and he says, "What do I do?" And the wise owl, looked as wise as ever, told him, "Look, there is no way your gout pain can be cured. Only thing that you can do is you can convert or get converted or become a mouse. So what happens is you will have gout on 4 feet and 4 legs instead of 100 legs now." The centipede was thrilled. He says, "Oh my God, what a solution. So tell me now, how do I become a mouse?" Well, the wise owl gave wise looks and said, "Sorry, friends, we only make policy here. For intervention, you have to go to somebody else." The story is very clear, friends. Policies are getting downloaded every day. There was policy on opening up after the lockdown. There is now the policy of the, and the poor man who has to execute this policy has to come to the other person than the owl. Who is that person? Perhaps that person is on this call. He is an HSE professional, EHS professional. I would like, in my last call on 1st May, I referred to a term which said None of you are actually EHS professional. You are EHS leaders. And now my story proves it, that you have a great opportunity of leadership because people are going to be dependent on you for intervention. So with that, how do we make this intervention meaningful is something we call the 4 key takeaways from this session. Let's call them the 4 C's. Incidentally, I'm very grateful to Dipil for announcing it. 2 things. One is that this call is being recorded. So you have always the option of coming back to this call. The second thing that he announced was that there was requirement of you to go through a pre-read or pre-work, and that pre-work was the recording that he sent you. He sent you a link of the previous call, which was held on 1st May, which was soft skills for EHS professionals or EHS leaders. This is a second in line of a continuum. We have in line for you 8 building blocks. This is the second one. So today we will together build up on what we discussed on 1st May and see how we can apply that to the journey ahead as the industry and your organization opens from tomorrow onwards. So what are we looking at? We are looking at that each one of you as an EHS leader becomes aware of greater credibility. So as a trainer in EHS today, you not only have to have visibility, but I think you have to have credibility. How do you build up that? Greater capability, greater confidence, stand up, talk with consistency in your understanding. How do you become a trainer of choice? Let's first set some ground rules. We must, after all, at the end of the day, deliver the awareness of the 4 C's that we have talked. So let us first make a commitment that we are going to follow some rules for the next maybe 90 minutes or whatever time we have balance, and we move forward. So what are these ground rules? This is an opportunity to be committed to your own development. Feel free to ask questions and engage with your own views. Now, this mindfulness is the power of reflection. When you pause, you look at the mirror, and you figure out for yourself, how much sense is this issue making to me? You need to focus. You need not distract others because that will be coming in the way of learning. Apply the shared examples to the opportunities in your own work life. Now, I'm going to share out some examples to you. And the application of those examples can be different for everybody. The other day, I was talking to my batchmate from NDA, and he's none other than one of the finest fighter pilots that India has ever produced, the ex-Air Chief Marshal Arup Raha, the ex-Chief of Air Staff. He's my batchmate from NDA. And I asked him a question. He says, when these fighter pilots take off on a sortie in the morning against the rising sun, they take off as early as 4:30, 5 o'clock. They go into what is called strategic flying. You know, the speed is a couple of times more than the speed of sound. We call it land back, zoom, zoom, zoom. Amazing, irrespective of how early the morning is, their flying overalls are wet with sweat. They rush to the crew room. They are hungry? Yes. They are thirsty? Yes. They barely snatch a cup of coffee. And you know what do? They get hold of their blue book. And the blue book is the record of reflection of an every pilot when he comes back from his sortie. Reflection is pause. Look at yourself as if you are looking in the mirror. Ask yourself, what went well in this sortie? And what could have been better in this sortie? What is my learning from this sortie? How can I apply this learning of what went well and what could have been better to my next sortie? And how can I make my next sortie better than this one? The situation as the lockdown opens is something which nobody has experienced. And people are going to look up to you and say, lead kindly light. You have got the name, environment, organizational health, and safety associated with your name. Reflection is your strength. So here is a point for reflection. Try and recollect today, which was the worst training session that you attended. Somewhere where you felt like a prisoner. You were looking at the watch and you wanted to run away. I'm sure you have not very fond memories of such a session. Just reflect. What made it that particular training as the worst session? And also remember a wow training session. A training session which you did want to end. You made this magic happen. Become mindful of these two aspects by reflecting. In Hindi, we say manthan. Let's go and first understand what makes a training session a torture for the participants. Well, they are called top 10 mistakes. So here is a list of top 10 mistakes which a trainer can make. I will discuss them, but I want you to have a good look. Poor preparation, no session objectives, poor use of visual aids, slide will be on. You have to select with your experience which according to you is the most damaging mistake that a trainer made in the worst training session that you attended. www.menti.com code 44926. You have to select one most damaging mistake which a trainer can make. Your time of 2 minutes starts now. Move to your screen, Dipil, and show them the result.
100%. Here we go. Okay, I'm live. So we have 27 people participated. And
that's a very good number.
Exactly. And most of them
is to still go up.
It's not up yet.
It's not up in my screen.
Okay, so Kenal, we have total 27 people participated in the poll, and out of which 8 of them believes that very little audience involvement is one of the biggest mistake.
And what is the second one?
So second one, we have 3 reasons coming, 3 of them for voting. One is poor preparation, second is no session objectives, third is poor use of visual aids.
Fantastic, fantastic. So let me get back to my screen again.
Please.
Can you see my screen again, Dipil?
Yes, you are live. Go ahead.
So friends, I think you have belled the cat yourself. Most of you feel very little audience involvement. Think of an own training session which you took in the past. On a scale of 0 to 10, how many marks would you give yourself in audience involvement? And mind you, the topic still remains environment, organization, health, and safety. So this is the first realization. Yes, all these 10 mistakes are common, but somewhere you and I are on the same page. Very little audience involved. Dipil, are we good to go forward? Perhaps somewhere you are under the impression that when the subject is technical, let me go back to a story in my own life. By qualification, I am MTech in automobile engineering. And I had an opportunity to become a trainer after my MTech. And I did my dissertation with the great Dr. Sajan Pawar in Automobile Research Association of India, ARII Pune. And I went as a trainer in automobile engineering at EME School, Baroda. That's an army institution. Those of you who are around Gujarat would know that Mandir and all that. So I was taking classes on gearboxes. I had two ways to take the class. One was, friends, IC engine is different from EC engine. EC engine is unilateral and two-speed. IC engine has got multiple choices of torque and power. So, but I said no. Even a gearbox can be taught with audience involvement. And I asked them a question. What's the difference between an IC engine and an EC engine? What is it that the IC engine needs, which the EC engine need not have? And it all came out in the terms of variation of torque, variation of speed, multiplication of torque, and there came the gearbox. It's only an example from my own story. And that's how I became a behavioral trainer. When I looking at the opportunity, guys, today a lot of people say there is a gap in the performance because of COVID. There is a gap in the performance of a EHS professional, a EHS leader. Can you look at the performance in the gap? The whole world is looking at the gap in the performance, but can you see the performance in the gap? Can you see the power of performance as a trainer so that you lead kindly light? And that will only happen when you bring the power of audience involvement. Audience involvement is like transferring your accountability to those who have to deliver. They are the guys in the front line. They have to deliver safety while you talk of safety. I invite your questions.
Mr. Pitre Govind is asking, please elaborate on how we shift accountability to audience by involvement.
Fantastic, Govind. Govind, you have taken the first step towards becoming a trainer of choice. So, how do we do this? Don't lose this question. This question is opening the box of the beautiful discovery of the balance of this conversation. So, we will go to Govind again after some time and ask him, has he got the ways and means to look at transferring the accountability of putting in place the policy which you understand, but he has to implement? So let's recollect the wow session which you attended. One of the best sessions that you have attended. What did the trainer do? Well, guys, no rocket science. He tried to become a great communicator. He tried to use the power of influencing. And he also politely and firmly said no when you're required to say no. Does this slide look familiar? Somewhere they moved from teacher to training. So let us understand. What is training through understanding the difference between training and teaching? So let me first explain this, and this is an opportunity for poll number 2. So yeah, Dipil, you were asking when is the next poll? The next poll time is now. So let me first explain to you, and now I expect more than 20 people to take part. So this is again audience poll like we do it in Kaun Banega Crorepati you are used to. Teaching is providing knowledge. Training is about learning certain skills and behavior. These are the differences which I have given. In teaching, theoretical knowledge is imparted, whereas practical awareness is provided in case of training. Differences between training and teaching. Communication in teaching is mostly one way, in training it is two way. Teaching is often conducted only in a classroom environment. Training is done in work environment or classroom environment. It can be both. Teaching is teacher-centered, while training is learner-centered. Teaching uses the knowledge of the teacher, while training depends on the knowledge of the whole group. So guys, when I say go, you got to go to www.menti.com. This is you could do the designing by a simple principle called tell. Principle of 3T. Tell them in the introduction what you are going to tell them. Tell them what you are going to tell them in the development or the main topic. And finally, conclude by telling them what you have told them. Tell, tell, tell. An adult will always respect you because you have respected him by structuring your training onto these three aspects. Reference material, go into this teachings or research of the lady called Barbara Minto. Make a note. Barbara Minto from UK talks about what are the principles to be followed in the tell principles. You are respecting the adult learner by giving value to the question that it deserves to be considered at a later stage or needs to be parked. It's a wonderful car which requires beautiful parking space. Any other option that you have? Let me revise with you the basic fundamental understanding of adult learning. Somewhere in this group, the answer is there, either individually or as a group. What efforts am I making to get the answer from the group? And that is the power of facilitation. So, question is, how do you deal with these dysfunctional behaviors? You know, people are being argumentative, people are sleeping, people are dozing off. Every now and then somebody says, I want to tell a joke. I want to tell a joke. And Colonel Bindra said, sensitivity to adult learner, I can't shut him up. I'm talking of the severe conditions of Environment Organization, Health and Safety, but he's come back after many weeks of lockdown. He wants to share a joke. So what do we do? Please understand, never become unfriendly to a dysfunctional person, but yet be firm with him. So how do you remain friendly? First of all, encourage the group to share responsibility for handling difficult members. Okay, guys, this guy wants to tell a joke. What are your thoughts on this if he shares the joke now? Let the group decide. They will say, we don't have time for jokes. We are worried. We have to get cracking. All right. Use non-verbal cues. Non-verbal cues means sometimes you have to give a hint to someone, like somebody in my class the other day was dozing off. I'm talking of not a virtual training program and a physical training program. And I went and just tapped on the desk while making eye contact with somebody else. A lot of senior people talk to each other. I just look at them very politely, or I stop talking. While looking at them, they realize that it has been noticed. Because to remind you by referring to those that please do not distract, please do not unmute, not speak more than one person, so that norms will always help you, irrespective of the duration and mode of a training session. My suggestion is to set norms for every conversation. Share with you is called GTI model of learning. When you didn't know how to drive a car, you are ignorant about driving a car. Somebody told you the theory of driving a car. So from ignorance, you came to awareness. Then you practiced driving the car with a huge L written on it. But today, when the lockdown will open, you will drive the car, leave your hands in spite of being from safety department. Maybe, maybe not, but you have become an expert. Now the learning takes place in three phases. In formal learning, that is classroom, only 10% learning takes place. When you have discussion with others, 20% learning takes place. But the beautiful learning of 70% is actually to become a wonderful facilitator-based trainer. What I have told you is only 10%. You need to discuss it is 20%. You actually go into a training session next week itself is 70%. I thank you all for this wonderful participation and the 4 polls that you took. Over to Dipil for any questions that we may need to answer now. We still have exactly 14 minutes. Pranay, it's a very realistic situation you are painting through this question. Now, what is it that we could do better? What is it I need to reflect? If you notice, when I talked about managing SAM, self, audience, and material, How do I prepare for a training program even when I'm organizing it and the speaker is external? What is the mailer I give to my audience? Let me share the principle of 3 E's. The 3 E's. First is enchant. Enchanting like the snake charmer. He enchants the snake by the music of your pre-work. Your announcement of the program should be very enchanting. You have to take pains, especially when you're inviting a person which the company is paying and the company can't afford. The training session is for implementation and not to gain, brownie points with our seniors. Training is a spiritual activity. You can't do training. You have to be a trainer. It's a way of life. So remember the 3 E's: enchant, enthrall, and engage.
How do you handle a participant who is very senior director in the company?
Oh, very good.
Yeah, but who is continuously getting distracted by text messages on his mobile and is also showing only partial interest in the lecture.
Fantastic. First of all, guys, I must tell you that this question is a moment of honor for me. Captain Vivek Kulkarni is from Air India Express, and he is the senior most person as far as flying safety is concerned in this country. It's such an honor to have him here, and he's my acquaintance and a friend and a supporter for the last 50 years. I met him in NDA and we were buddies since then. His question is very valid because when you make a presentation to a person who perhaps knows it all, I have no other option but to consider him as a dysfunctional participant. So I have to be polite and firm. One option is when you know, so that is why when you know your audience, you know a couple of directors, you know they are coming for the program. At the time of setting the norms, make it very democratic. Are we here to learn? Are we committed to learn? What is it that we need to do? Believe you me, Vivek, in many training programs, senior people like CEOs have volunteered to keep their mobiles away. It is your PTT, your preparation, tone, and timing at the time of setting the rules and the norms. And still, if somebody is doing it, you have to walk up to him with the right tone and the right timing. You have to ask him, sir, is there anything which is very, very important? Can I take a pause because others are getting distracted? I assure you that, see, you have nothing to lose except your credibility. And as a trainer, nobody can touch your credibility except your performance in meeting the objectives of the program. I hope I have somehow conveyed some message to my friend Vivek Kulkarni, who himself has been Director of Safety of Air India, and he himself has seen this happening realistically on ground.
I was talking. Can I ask you something?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was talking about, you have the managing director of the company who is himself invited you for the program, and he's come as an observer. And of course, he knows it all, but at the same time, his doing these things is going to distract the other participants a bit, So I'm sure you cannot, it'll be rude to walk up to him and talk to him at that moment. So how would you handle that?
Well, if you go back to the slide which I showed you, you have to engage with him one-to-one privately. You have to tell him, excuse me, sir, forgive me for this rude behavior. It may seem rude. Can I step out and have a word with you? See, it requires courage. Your purpose drives your courage. Your commitment to the others. There are people who need your program and they are sitting in the program. You owe it to them. You will have to tell this to the person. He might be a minister of aviation himself sitting there. You will have to tell him, forgive me, sir, but I think what other option? Ask him an open-ended question. Sir, what is it that we need to do so that your mobile does not distract the others? That's what my
Okay,
perspective
thank you.
is.
Thank you. That's it.
All right.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Great. So ask your question.
Very nice and fantastic presentation, and Sir Kamal Bandra, and
Thank you.
really, I'm very much grateful to hear your presentation with your communication, the way you communicated to the people, those who are attending this program.
Thank you so
And
much.
also, I would like to know, sir, suppose if you are giving the training program to the trainers or attenders in toolbox meeting, whatever it is, when the attendee or the participant raise the question related to the subject training, first of all, we should greet him and we should appreciate him to encourage the questions which he is raising by the subject matter.
Fantastic. 10 out of 10 for this statement.
Yeah, but at the same time, we should appreciate him. Then only the people, those who are attending, among other attendees, also will get involvement, and they will also ask the subsequent questions related to the subject, which will be enhance our knowledge and which will give the feedback to the attendees, whatever we have learned, whatever we have in mind to explain to the attendees.
That's right.
So in that way, two-way traffic, we can say the two-way interaction section will give the motivation to the facilitator as well as the attendees. In that way, how we can enhance the presentation skill to the audience.
You are, first of all, I must thank you. I think you're asking again a very practical way. You are opening the lid for what is called buddy learning process.
Okay.
This is not the start of the end, nor is it the end of the start. This is the start of a new beginning called a buddy learning process. You are Shekhar, am I right? No.
Yeah, correct, sir.
Yes,
Shekhar, immediately after this call, you have to write in physically either on your computer or on your mobile or on your diary a name.
Yeah.
It could be even your spouse.
Yeah.
That person is going to be your buddy learning partner. Tomorrow, when you go through this presentation, share this presentation if that person is not part of this group. Then get into practice. Get into practice of how we did it. My spouse, Neera, who's been my buddy learning partner during the COVID period. We have been support to each other by practicing with each other. So I'm not suggesting that only you do it with your spouse. I'm only asking you to select someone. Practice. If nothing else, practice in front of the mirror. Record your own voice. Technology is at one push away. Your comfort will always pull you back. Your determination will take you forward. Over to Dipin.
Great. Thank you, Colonel sir, for that. Now over to Santosh. Santosh, you can unmute yourself and you can ask your question.
Good evening, sir. Nice presentation so far. And sir, I have attended. This is the second session I am attending here. Sir, my question is, as EHS professional, trainer, the person, I mean to say, an EHS professional, if he is going to, he is giving the training. I mean, he is a trainer. The feedback or the intensity is quite different because this face is very familiar to the person who are attends, and same time the management, they do the training mostly management it's to comply they are giving the trainings, so in that case what happens, safety professionals are facing problems like the people are not interested to attend by compulsion, they are attending, and some department are sending their representatives, they don't have an interest. In that case,
I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you, Santosh. I'm running out of time, so I'll just answer your question. I've got your question. Your question is that how do I bring value to my kind of mundane or myopic job? My job seems to have become ordinary because being EHS person, they are taking me for granted. So you have to look at yourself as a meaningful specialist. The policy has come. First of all, you have to master the policy. You should know the policy before your boss knows it.
Yeah.
You should become a consultant to your own company and practice the 2 sessions. I must congratulate you. You have said you have attended both the sessions. So I think yours is the word. If I'm allowed to use a little Hindi, खुद ही को कर बुलंद इतना कि तेरा ऑर्गेनाइजेशन तेरे से कुछ कहने से पहले पूछे बता संतोष तेरी रजा क्या.
Right.
So you become an expert. You become a consultant to your own company. Value yourself. That's it.
Yeah. Really enjoyed. Thank you.
Pradeep, you have revised the assertiveness model for us and you have given me a new learning for my next program. I will use these 3 E's to explain the assertiveness model. Thank you, Pradeep.
And Colonel, I go with V's.
All right. Thank you. So,
great. Thank you. So, Colonel Sahab, I think, few more questions are there. Just maybe last question again from Vivek Kulkarni. When the subject is completely new to the participant, wouldn't the facilitator have to reverse his role from trainer to teacher? When the subject is completely new to the participant, wouldn't the facilitator have to reverse his role from trainer to teacher?
Yes, Vivek, I will not throw the question back at you because of paucity of time. I'm only giving you a point for reflection. As the world opens again next week or so down the line, everything will be new. Everything will be new. Even you will not know it unless you sit down and read tonight what is the policy of the aviation industry. What are the security measures being taken in the crew room, in the passengers boarding place, and by the technical people? So yes, teaching is the start point, but the point is just knowing will not help them. Their behavior has to change. So here is a mathematical equation I'll give you. Skill into belief is equal to behavior. Now let me explain. Skill is not spitting. The Honorable Prime Minister in his last talk, Man Ki Baat, a couple of Sundays back said that in India, we have to stop spitting. Now every third Indian, especially in Mumbai where you stay, everybody is spitting. So the skill is how to swallow your spit inside and not spit it outside. That's one part, but it doesn't change your behavior. The skill part is the knowledge part. It's the theory part. Your belief is very important, and that belief is that I need to value this skill. I need to value that today Mumbai is going to the gutters because of people spitting and people like me spitting. I take my dog for a walk every day. Anybody who spits out of habit, and mind you, the person may be 100 yards away from me. In the typical army style, I say, today morning it happened, I said, "Thuko mat." That chap held his calm. He held his ears. Why? Because when you become a trainer, you address not the skill alone, Vivek, you address the belief. At the end of the day, training has to change their behavior, not their knowledge. Knowledge, a teacher can change. They can go to any school. Anybody can do it. But when you as ex-director security, when you as the best person on a simulator, when you download the new methods of maintaining sanitization in the simulator place, you will have to bring a change in their beliefs more than a change in their skills so that they change in their behavior. I hope that answers question, my friend.
Yeah, thank you very much. Well, very well answered.
Thank you.
Thanks, Vivek Kulkarni and Colonel Bindra. So it was an amazing presentation, Colonel Bindra. We are, already getting a lot of appreciation from the people. That great session with great insights and energy, Colonel Amar Bindra, and well-organized people. So good. So thank you very much, all of you, for your participation. So maybe Colonel, over to you for a concluding thoughts to wind up the session.
Beautiful. So this slide which we are showing is a slide of meaning. You have this magician called Dipil Kumar Vasu. He is dedicated. He is not here for a profession. He is here for a way of life. He had a wonderful profession in the industry. And here is a retired, not even tired colonel. Seek our assistance wherever it is. We are committed to make our own spirituality. For us, this is as meaningful as helping those migratory laborers who are now trudging their way back to Bihar or Odisha. For us, the commitment is the same. So get in hold of us, ask us questions, give us mails. The moment you refer to this program, we are committed to answer your questions. Good luck, goodbye, and may God be with you when you shine again after the lockdown is over. Every crisis, when you are through it, when you are in it, it seems very, very high. But when you are past, you say, oh my God, that was not as bad as what I thought that moment. This too shall pass. Guzar jayega, guzar jayega. Good luck, bye bye, and namaskar.